you didn't have enough time to do the thing that was really important to you and felt stuck and didn't know the way through. I'm here with Krista Daneluz Vieira, sharing her story of going from not having enough time, not knowing how to move forward on a project that was really important to her, to now living a life that she loves with real time freedom. Welcome here, Krista.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us what was going on for you.
You know, when I met you, Stacey, I was running in a million directions. I have a yoga studio that I love, and I had just opened the doors to the studio about 8 months before I met you. And when I met you, I was finding myself really wanting to, bring forward my coaching program. I had a couple of one-on-one clients that I was working with, and I had done quite a few more before opening the studio. But when that studio opened, my energy and where I could put it really shifted. And so when I met you, I remember I was so inspired by what you were doing, but I had my massage clients, I was taking care of all of the yoga administration, plus I was teaching classes. And when I tried to think of how I could do this, there's only so many hours in a day, I can't multiply them. And I thought, what am I going to do?
In addition to the studio and the massage, tell us about your family.
Well, I have 2 little kids. I have Leo, who's 6, and Allie, who's 4, and then my husband, of course. And yeah, I want to spend my time with my family, as well as, I love my business. I love the work I do, but being there for my kids is, as a mom, it's just one of the things that is near and dear to your heart. You want to be there for events. You want to be there for volunteering in school. You want to be able to spend time with them at home. Very simple, just cooking dinners together and being there together. So I felt like that was getting strained.
Yeah. And so that was being strained, not able to spend the time you wanted. You shared they were going to school or a day home. You were picking them up at what time?
5:30, 6. Like, it was late, and like even sometimes after that. So yeah, it was just the navigation of that, like struggling to who's picking up the kids? Is it me? Is it Rico? And we're just everywhere at once, trying to make sure that food's on the table. And it felt like our lives were running us instead of us being able to make those conscious choices.
And so you and I met, and what was that process like?
Well, the one thing that always stands out for me is that, you were very, forthcoming with some ideas about what might be helpful. And you came and sat down for about an hour with me and had a coffee. And in that time, in that 1 hour of sitting down with you, it became so clear to me how I could take my currently non-existing coaching business and I could transform it into something that wasn't going to take more of my time, was going to start to free up my energy, it was going to help me to balance out my life. And I was so inspired after that conversation that I got drawn towards an upcoming immersion event that you had coming. And inside of me, I was like, you are meant to do this. Yeah. I didn't know how. I had no idea what was going to happen. But I felt inspired and I said, Stacey, do you have any spots left? Can I come? So my husband and I both came. Yeah. And that was a game changer.
Yeah. So what was one of the biggest takeaways at that immersion experience for you?
One of the biggest takeaways was at this particular event, we had time to look at the upcoming year and plan out what actions we were going to take and what strategy we were going to bring forward. We got to dream up what we wanted in terms of our personal life. We got to look at what we wanted to do with our time. We got to pre-plan the entire year. And this was amazing. And I got to take a very solid look at how I was going to bring what I wanted to see in my life happen, how I was going to bring it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what I would say, Krista, is you're a go-getter. I remember one of the things you saying to me early on is like, I'm a Virgo. Like, I'm good with my time. I get stuff done. So taking action wasn't the problem.
No.
So having that opportunity to look at your whole year, not just business, but also personal, lay it out, was powerful and impactful. And we both know that the strategy wasn't enough. And so when you think about what happened at that immersion experience, as far as your belief, your mindset, what would you say were some of the shifts that happened as well?
Yeah, it definitely helped me double down on my mindset. Like, start to clean up some areas. Like many people, even people who are very successful, we all have a little voice of self-doubt in our head. We all struggle with a little bit of confidence, even on the best days.
Yeah.
And so I started to really actively look at those voices and see what they were saying and ask myself, do they deserve to have a place in my head?
Yeah.
Should I be giving my time and my energy to undermining myself, or should I actually be putting my energy toward what I would love?
Yeah.
And so this gave me the opportunity to dream and also to, give myself a little bit more. So I started to take more time to really honor what I was doing, celebrate my wins. And that inspired me to sign up for a coaching program with you. So we did this course, and a couple months later, I had started to take some action. I had my plan. I knew what I was doing. And then I found I needed support. In my business, everything that I do is driven by me. So I don't have a boss who's standing over my head saying, can you please get this done?
Yeah.
If I don't get it done, it doesn't get done. So I found myself sitting in the space where I said, if I sign up for this program, I know I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
Because I'll be in a container that is here to support and amplify and give me extra tools so that I can be successful.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer decision for me.
Yeah. Well, I think you said a few things that are so important is when you're running a business, when you're a high achiever, there's nobody to look to but you, right? And so that self-accountability is really important, but it can also be really lonely because there are days where we wake up and we don't want to do the thing we need to do. And it's oftentimes driven by fear, self-doubt, lack of confidence. And you and I've talked a lot about easier to see for other people than for ourselves. So maybe speak about that a little bit, having, that outside perspective.
Yeah, it's so we can know all of the things, as a coach, and doing mindset work, I know so much of the material. But when it turns around to apply, back to ourselves, we have blind spots. We have our own paradigms. And the thing about paradigm, like the way that we think, it's all under the surface. It's in our subconscious. We don't have a picture of what that looks like. It's really hard to see ourselves. And so being able to be in a space where, some of that was going to come up for me to look at and to give me support with that so that I could be more honest in my reflection of myself and just more aware of where I was really coming from. Yeah. I really benefited from having that extra lens, that extra perspective, and all of the support that came with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things you said is you felt like you didn't have the time to roll out the thing that was important to you, which was growing the coaching business. And just talk a little bit about what happened for you. I mean, you still had the same 24 hours in a day, still had 2 young kids, you were still running the yoga studio. But what happened just a few months after we started working together as far as time and what you were able to accomplish?
Well, I put myself on the calendar first. So, I started to book in the things that were important to me. I started to prioritize them in a different way. I said my family was my priority, but my time was being split, really honestly. So I started to, I planned out a vacation. I was going to take a vacation. I actually took 2 vacations last summer with my family. Didn't exactly know how I was going to do that, but I put it on the calendar. I wanted to go on monthly dates with my husband, just the 2 of us going out. And we started to prioritize that. So they went on the calendar and we organized for them. And that started to change our time and how we were spending our time. So that was just such an amazing shift. I wanted to, as a massage therapist and as a yoga teacher, I'm always using my body. I wanted to go for massages too. So I went and started booking myself my time so that my self-care was coming first. And somehow that all of this started to say, well, what else can I do? The time that I'm spending in my day, where is it going? What don't I need to be doing with my time? What can I prioritize? And what I found was that so much of how I had been spending my time, I just took those things off of my plate. I started hiring it out. So I had wanted a virtual assistant to help me. I knew I couldn't do the coaching business on my own. I wanted someone to help with behind the scenes. I was not sure what to do, but I just said, I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to have a meeting. I'm going to start to talk to some people. And pretty soon I had the support I needed. So all of this admin work that I had been kind of stressing over in my mind, I was able to farm that out to somebody so that I didn't have to do it. And this freed up so much of my time and energy too.
Well, and Krista, you're making it sound so easy, right? And
it wasn't.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? It was, you had this desire for time. You had this desire to spend more time with your kids, to make a greater impact in other people's lives. And the condition felt like, I just don't have the time. And you were working till what time at night?
Well, I used to be like a night owl. And by that, I mean like 12, 1.
1 in the morning.
1:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you launched another business.
Yeah.
And what happened to your days? So you didn't take anything off of your plate as far as what you owned, what you were operating, what you were responsible for. In fact, you added to it in many ways.
Yeah.
You didn't know how you were going to hire a team. That felt impossible in some ways, both from financial time, but also trusting people, right? It felt like you were the only one that could do those things.
Yeah. I started to delegate a lot of things out. And I realized, it's easy to say it, but truly we have to, become a little bit uncomfortable and embrace a little bit of that discomfort. Any kind of growth is outside of our comfort zone. So at first, it's a lot of like training, learning, developing relationships and connections, and, specifically when it came to staff, but it also came down to like really honestly looking at where I was spending my time and just making some different choices. And that came with the clarity of what do I want?
Yes.
When I was able to figure out what I wanted, I was able to start figuring out how I was going to get there. And that had been missing before. I hadn't even stopped to say, what do I want?
Right.
I knew kind of what I wanted, but I didn't know the whole picture. So it was fragmented. I needed a way to bring it all together.
So once you knew what you wanted, so the power of vision, how important has that been for you?
It's been life-changing. Before I definitely had like view. I could see, I was, I had ideas of what I wanted to create in my life. I've always been working towards projects. I'm an ideas person, but being able to actually create a connection to what I wanted to feel and what I wanted to experience in my life, and to dream beyond what I thought was possible. There's something that you talk about a lot, which is that the how gets in the way. And I am a how person. I'm practical. If I can't see how something's going to pan out, I'm going to be like, wait, maybe we shouldn't do that. Let me figure out all of the steps and then I'll start the process. And that made me delay a lot. I would stop so many times before getting started. So being able to create a vision for myself and really be in belief that I could achieve that, and without having any idea how I was going to do it, just start taking the steps forward, and then to start to see the results, to start seeing things in my life change. That was amazing. Yeah.
So some of the results that you've created, tell us about that as far as business, financial freedom, time freedom, relationships. Tell us a little bit about life today.
It's been amazing. So I get to go and take my kids to swimming lessons, take them to all their events. Rico and I are going for dates. We're taking holidays. We get to spend time together. I no longer work until 1:00 in the morning. I actually pretty much go to bed around 9, which if you had asked me before, I would never have said I would do. But I've changed my life so much to prioritize the things that are important to me. That now, even in my business is successful. It's thriving. I was able to launch my coaching program and attract clients and start to work with them and in a way to help them succeed at what they love to do. And that has brought more abundance for me and more abundance for them. And so it's a win-win. My life is a win-win. I feel great. Ultimately, the biggest benefit has been the time freedom. I didn't know before. I would have said I did. I would have been like, oh yeah, I can organize my schedule. I'm good. Like, I'm on top of my things. But I was running all of the time. I was really good at running. But now I know what time freedom feels like. Now I know what it looks like. My life is now the epitome of time freedom. It's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
What would you say to that version of you that was wondering, should I attend an immersion training? Is this possible? What would you say to that version of you?
Don't even waste time thinking about it. Just go sign up and just go. You know, when we put ourselves into these spaces where we can really get in touch with what it is that we want, who we are, what's important to us. And, you know, when we're in our lives, we don't get this perspective. We don't have the time. We're running around. We can't see what we can't see. When we go to an immersion, we have the opportunity to get a lot clearer on what's happening for us and to start to say, you know, does it have to be this way? If there's something that's not working, does it have to stay this way? So no, if I was talking to myself 3 years ago and I was looking at, you know, where I was and everything I was going through, I struggled for a much longer time than I needed to. I didn't need to do that. But maybe I did. Maybe I needed to struggle to get to the point.
You just didn't know better, right?
I didn't know better.
Yeah.
Right. And so the perspective, right? Like just having the perspective on the other side. Now that I went through that, now I can see how much easier it is on this side. Now I can see that there's another way and that way it's a way forward. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, celebrating you, Krista, and all of the decisions and the actions that you've taken. And as a result of that, the impact you're making, not just for your family, but for the people that you're serving, your community, your team, is celebrating you for all of those decisions.
Thanks, Stacey.
Yeah.
Yeah.